Welcome to the Why Music podcast, where we talk to independent artists about their music. I'm sorry. Let me do that again. I've never done that before. I skipped from one line to the next. Let's try that again. Welcome to the Why Music podcast, where we talk to independent artists about their journeys, the inspirations behind their music, and ultimately why they make music. This next artist is a French born and based poet turned songwriter. From a three-piece rock band to working in cinema, she's covered every creative base along the way to becoming the indie pop folk artist that she is today. Welcome, ALIE.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be here today.
I'm glad to have you. I always like to start with where your music journey all began.
Yeah. I think I was first introduced to music when I was very young because my dad play music. He's in a band and it's more like a cover band, like to play like other people's song. And I was, in every couple of weeks I will like see him live, and it was like sort of our routine. And also like my dad and my mom are a big fan of Green Day, so I grew up with this. And like my first concert was like maybe when I was 8 or so. And I think the first or the second one I saw, it was Paramore opening for Green Day. And that's when I was like, okay, that's so cool. I want to be like her. I want to be ALIE Williams, and I want to have like my own band. I think it was like, yeah, the first time I really wanted to, like make music. But I mean, since I'm very young, I'm very like into rock music and music in general. And you can find like a previous like a video of me like when I was, I don't know, 3 or 4, like playing air guitar, like stuff like this. And it was very like I remember that one video where I'm like screaming AC/DC lyrics, and I'm like with like a guitar, but like it's air guitar. And I'm like, yeah, putting on the show. And I think, yeah, since then, I'm really like very into this, very into music. Yeah.
So, how did it go from, well, that explains how you kind of started in a like rock group and stuff like that. And so how did it go from air guitar to possibly real guitar?
Yeah, I first started with a ukulele actually. It was my phase, like 21 Pilots phase. And yeah, I was very into that band, and I'm still is, but like it was very a huge part of my youth. I will say like I was, I don't know, 14 maybe. And so for my birthday, my parents got me a ukulele, and I was like, okay, let's go. That's how I started playing music. And I was like first, like learning 21 Pilots songs, obviously, but like that's how I started playing. And then for my 18th birthday, I got a guitar, and that's how like I started really playing guitar.
So then, how did you end up with the artist project that you have today?
It's kind of like a long journey to to be able like to do this as a solo artist, because when I first started, I was like just by myself with my ukulele, and I was like, okay, I'm just writing song right now, and it's not going anywhere. I don't want to like, like put really like a song out and everything. And then things like grew. I wanted to have like a band surrounding me. That's how I started the band, you said before. And I was like, I met those, it was two guys. I met those guys online, like via platform for artists, like to find each other. And we were like living close to each other, so that's why like we started playing. And it was very like the first time I heard like my songs with drums and bass, and that's how like I saw like the song coming to life, and that's how like I started to enjoy this and playing live as well. And those guys like we were for a time in good terms, but it didn't end well at the end. It was very like not friendly, I would say. And so yeah, things like didn't work out, and it was kind of tough because like we were starting to get on few opportunity like to few shows outside of France, and it was like very exciting because we wanted to make like a record and stuff like this, and then it ended up like straight away like out of nowhere, and that was like a little bit like cut short, and it was like, okay, I'm a bit like struggling right now. I don't know if I want to do this again. And it was, yeah, I was feeling very like defeated for like, I didn't want to do music anymore because I was like feeling like really, I don't know, it was very strange that time. I think it was like back in 2022. And I took like a year off, I would say. I was like, okay, I'm not going to do anything music related. And a year later, I started to put like my feelings into my music. I was like, okay, I need to express how I felt at that time. And that's how like I started this whole like solo project. And I was like, okay, let's do this. I'm better by myself. Let's do this. I can do it. So that's how like I started this whole like solo thing.
Um, Unfortunate to have it end the way that it did, but I mean, I guess the silver lining after it all is that you're still doing it. Like,
Yeah.
you're doing your own thing at this point, and like you said, I can I'm fine by myself. I can do it by myself. Um, yeah, no, that I mean, what I'm curious about the platform that you guys found each other on. I don't know that like I don't know if that's a more common thing overseas or maybe I'm just out of the loop, but that's interesting. It's almost like I have had bands come on here and say that they met each other on Craigslist. So weirder things have happened.
Yeah. No, I think it's website like just in France. I'm not sure, but it's like it's Zig Inf, and it's like stuff like this. I think it's really like French website. I'm not sure, but
Okay.
yeah.
I mean, it worked for the time being, right? Like you at least got a good run out of it.
Yeah, definitely. That worked for a while.
Um, what do you find most often inspires your songwriting?
I think arts in general, since I'm really like I love like consuming a lot of arts, like reading, watching movies, or TV shows, or art like painting, stuff like this. And yeah, I think most of my songs have like a character in mind, or like a scene from a movie I really liked and that really stuck with me. I think yeah, it's like a big thing for me. And also I would say, of course, like my personal experience and also like the more in general, like how women sometimes like, like live things. And I get online and I saw like I don't know, I tend to see like a lot of like stories that really like upsetting. And I turn this, like into my songs. Like I try, at least in my new songs right now that I'm working on, I try like to put this like rage I have inside me, like to put this in a song. Like it's all like I will say the word in general, but most of it like art. Yeah.
So you said personal experience and also just consuming other art, whether it's music or in other forms. Do you find there to be a lot of crossover, if you will, like combining your own experience with those, um, artistic perceptions, or is it kind of like an either or situation?
I feel like it's more like a crossover, I would say, because I feel like you can, even like if I'm doing music, you can gain like so much stuff for like movies, I would say, from movies and vice versa, I would say. So it's really like kind of, it's altogether for me because even like since you said before, I worked in movies and I write scripts or poetry or whatever, and like it's a whole thing for me. Like if I have, I don't know, inspiration for something, I will not like think, okay, it's inspiration for music. I will say like it's in general, and I tend to think like when I'm writing music, I always have like a story like for a movie as well in mind, like like making up a character or something. And sometimes like it really helps to write music. So I love to play with, like that type of stuff. Or if I'm stuck on a song that I cannot like finish, for example, I will, like start to write poetry or just free writing, and that will help as well. So I try like to help me with like a lot of media, yeah, to finish those stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and keeping your, I feel like when you ask songwriters about their process, the answer is really, well, it's never the same anytime, right? Like it's always something new. It just kind of happens, and no one's really paying attention to how it happens. You're more worried about what's coming out of it, right? So I
Yeah.
think like having those different streams open, if you will, of like how you're getting ideas and how you're getting inspiration plays a big part in being able to continue to create consistently, or at least try to create consistently. Because if you're just kind of dependent on one thing, like just waiting for, like what if you only ever wrote when you saw a movie that you really liked? Well, that's dependent upon them making good movies, right? Who knows? Like that ebbs and flows. So, like, if you have different ways that you can get those ideas, and I think also like it's really cool that you take it from different forms of art because then it's like you have to perceive those things differently because they're different in their own rights, and so you have to think about it differently and be able to respond to it differently. And so even just in that, you'll be advancing your own writing and ability in that way just by, exposing yourself to more different things.
Yeah, definitely. Like to me, it really helps. Like if I switch from a media to another, like it really helps, and it helps like having like a more like clear vision of the whole thing. Like it's
Hmm.
really like a step aside. If like it's like when you finish like a painting or whatever, and you step aside and let it sit for a few days, or like having new eye on it, I would say. So yeah, it really helps.
Yeah, taking that step back is definitely key because it's like it's also like when you're working on music, it's like, oh, like at some point maybe you just convince yourself that it sounds good, or you have that new like, oh, that new song. It's like kind of like a new car smell, but for music. Like it's just that new novelty. It's like, oh, this is so great, it's brand new, and then you give it a few days and you're like, are we sure?
Yeah.
What exactly happened here? I don't know. Maybe there's some good pieces, but maybe the whole thing's not as good. Yeah, so it's always, yeah, I like the painting comparison. That's very fitting.
Yeah.
If you had to create a new genre around your style of music, what would it be called?
Ooh, I would say, let me think. I would say folk. I will say folk first, but I will say like mystical folk indie. I will say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So so indie and folk, I'm following. Those are genre words. Why put the mystical part in there?
Because I really tend to also like be really like obsessing over like history stuff and mythology stuff and like those kind of things and witchy stuff. I'm really into like tales and everything mystic, I would say. Everything like I don't know. I'm really into like horror movies as well. Like it's really, I would say something that you cannot touch or see, like
Mm.
those, those the thing this. And I really want to, because like right now I'm really in a stage, I would say in my career that I really want to, like identify who am I as an artist and what I want to make, and like to have like a real I don't know, like, yeah, I'll say identity as well, like a real thing. And I really tend to see that I'm really like leaning toward this, like toward this mystical and, like kind of magic and, like a little bit mysterious as well. Like, yeah, I would say yes. Yeah.
No, I mean that tracks with the, taking inspiration from movies and other forms of art and things like um, and I think with folk being kind of that story, like it's got that storytelling. I mean, all songwriting has storytelling, but like that extra kind of like that is, you think folk, you think storytelling, like that's in the roots of it. That's been the, like, even in the modern age, that's still a big piece of it. Telling those stories, and things like that. I think that aligns well with that. Just kind of jumping back to where we started. I don't think I ever fully connected the dots. How did you get from raised on Green Day to kind of something that you would consider in more of a folky world? Like, how did you kind of shift gears post band experience into something more acoustic, if you will, or folky, like that kind of thing? Like, how did you make that transition?
Um, I think it's really like for in my personal like I will say taste, I really listen like, to a lot of music. And like for time to time like I'm obsessed over like a thing like yeah, like a specific thing. I obsess over it. But in terms of like making music, I think it's really because of my band I really wanted to have like something, like on my own and, like to kind of feel that switch to like being like myself. And I found this when I was like making music and when I was alone, like right after breaking up with my band, I realized that I'm really more comfortable into like writing more folky ballad acoustic songs than I was back then when I was, like writing garage rock songs. Like I feel like I'm more able to express myself with that kind of music. That's really how I got into this. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely, I mean, acoustic in itself brings a lot of personal touch and intimacy to it in that way. And so I think that, yeah, I mean, when you're by yourself, like you think rock, you think band, you think folk, maybe you think like singer-songwriter. So
Yeah.
it just kind of, and especially if you're just embodying your own experience rather than like fronting a group's experience, maybe, it's, acoustic kind of, and I'm all about the folk. So like anything acoustic is right up there for me. You don't even have to make a case for that. So but yeah, no, that's cool. And it's always cool to see how it just kind of naturally evolves. Like it wasn't like you, like obviously with the Green Day and the stuff in your band and your dad and his band and everything, you get more of that rock foundation, but then it's like it's just like growing as a person. It's like you get that time to experience these other things and take it in, and it's like, well, maybe this is more for me at this stage. And who
Yeah.
knows, that could change even.
That's definitely like I'm really open about it. Like I tend to not like put a label on anything I'm doing. Like I tend to, like just experience whatever I like in the studio. Like if something feels right, I'm gonna do it. Like yeah, I love to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the idea is you just got to let the idea be what it's going to be, right? It's the more you try and refine it or make it any type of way, you're losing more of that originality and that original idea. So, that's definitely always a good thing. And because, like, really, in the streaming age, genre doesn't really matter. Like, people, they ask for what genre you make and things like that, but it's like, it's there's the lines are getting blurrier and blurrier as time goes on. So really it's
And I will say, like, since I grew up like with 21 Pilots, like it's not really a label. Like you cannot put like a label, I feel like, on them. It's really like it's shifting from like stuff to other stuff. Like it's really, I think, like I since I listened to a lot of them when I was younger, I grew with this as well. So, yeah, I think really it helped me.
yeah, I mean they've been at it forever and they've shifted a lot. They still have a lot of their true 21 Pilot roots, but they've
Yeah.
definitely evolved as time has gone on. If you had to pick two or three artists that you think your music is like a combination of, who would you choose?
I would say Phoebe Bridgers, I would say. Because I love her so much. And also maybe Clairo as well. And then for the third one, I would say Big Thief, probably. Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Are there specific elements of each of those artists that you think like direct like is it like is there something specific about any of their music and their artistry that you think falls well in line with or even that you specifically take inspiration from?
Yeah, I would say for Big Thief, I love like how the instruments and especially like Adrienne, like how she sings everything and how it's really like raw. I will say like those the lyrics and everything and how it's sang, like it really made me think. Like someone told me this one time, and yeah, I kind of saw it because like in that way, I feel like when I'm singing, it's kind of like I tend to do like this, like very raw and really not embellish, I would say. Like I try just to sing how I feel and that's it. I will say, yeah, for Big Thief is probably this. But like Phoebe Bridgers, I really am inspired by her like whole universe. I would say like how she's able like to recreate like a whole world. And yeah, I will say I'm more inspired by like everything she does in terms of like music production. Like it's something that really inspires me. Like every time I'm in the studio, I was like, okay, let's try to put like something like this or like yes, this sound like Phoebe Bridgers. And like sometimes I have like to stop myself because I'm doing way too much. But like how she uses modern sound like in more like acoustic and she adds like and special effects on guitar and it sound like very I don't know like mysterious and very like monstrous, I would say. Like those kind of things really like are inspiring to me. And for Clero, I would say it's more like an aesthetic, I would say, because her music has evolved so much like in her career, I feel like. And like for her last record, I feel like like she spent this whole journey finding herself. And I really like identify in this, and how like her first album is really more like a rocky sound and with like guitar, but like more I would say teenager vibes. And then like right now it's very more like acoustic and organic and really like yeah, like jazzy sound. Yeah, and I really identify in like this journey in like in finding yourself like because she's young, like she's almost my age I think. And that's like how I think I'm really like identifying this and like the whole journey and finding yourself.
Yeah, I think part of like it's not just finding who you are as an artist, but it's also just it's because, music is the outlet and the way that you convey, experience, express whatever you want to call it. It's in its own way a direct correlation with just kind of going through life. Like we're always learning new things in general and about ourselves, having new experiences, things like that. So it's always cool to see when you can, and especially with artists that you enjoy, being able to watch that progression and be able to kind of see that transformation and also then also additionally identify with it. Because it is like we're all just trying to figure it out. We're all just trying to do the things, right? So being able to have that um, definitely will pull you into an artist even more.
Yeah.
This is the point in the podcast where I take a question from last week's artist for this week's artist. So the question that came from last week is if you could only play one other instrument, meaning one you don't already play, to write the rest of your songs, what would it be?
I will say violin probably. Like I love violin. It's really like a sound that I really love and I feel like it's really instantly on a song like it really brings something and it's really like kind of like dramatic and really I don't know, it really yeah, brings something in me that I cannot like really express, but like it's really something I want to learn, and I don't know, maybe one day, but it's hard, but yeah.
No, I mean, I love acoustic. I love strings just the same. So I get that. The strings, it's so emotive and expressive, and it's like you can't you can't match that. Like it really
The reason,
it's yeah, it pulls at the heartstrings, right?
yeah, definitely.
What is your question for next week's artist?
Hmm. Um, I would say if you could choose between only doing studio or live, what will you choose?
Okay. So like only ever recording your stuff or only ever having people be able to experience it in real
Yes.
life. That's interesting. What would your answer be?
I think for me, I would say probably studio because I'm very like kind of shy. I would say it is really like sometimes I got really like nervous and I like I'm shaking and I was like, oh, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this to myself? And in studio, I feel like more at ease because like nobody's seeing me, and if I don't like it, I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna put this out ever. Like I feel like more safe, and more like a
Mm.
safe space. And like when I was asking this question, I don't know, I was thinking of the Beatles. I don't know, like I have the image like right here, and that's why like I thought of it.
No, I mean it's a space where you don't have to hold on to any mistakes. Those can literally die with the click of a button, basically. And live, you can't really
Oh
do
yeah.
that. If it happens, people know and see. Well, sometimes I mean, I will say sometimes people just like if you kind of can play it off, they don't really catch on that it was technically a mistake, but and then maybe that psychs yourself out, and
Yeah,
um,
exactly. Like it happens like for me, if I do something wrong and nobody notice, I'm like fucked. I'm gonna, like I'm gonna fuck the whole thing and it's over. Like for me, I'm gonna think about it like for the next few months and yeah, it's
Yeah, no, I mean it definitely does. I mean, you'd think it would get easier with time, but it's like, the getting up there and doing the things is the nerve-wracking part, and then being up there and having to do it. Maybe it gets easier as it goes on, maybe. But then it's like as soon as it's over, it's like, oh, you feel relieved that it's over because like, oh, you accomplished it, you did it, whatever. But then it's like, okay, maybe it wasn't as bad as you thought it was going to be, because I don't think anything like that ever is. However, as soon as there's another one, you
yeah.
forget that that was ever, you forget that it ever felt easier than you originally thought it was. Suddenly it's impossible and hard again, right?
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
It's just our selective memory isn't selecting the right memories there.
And it's not helping us at all.
No, no. Um, what is it that you think sets you apart from other independent artists?
Mm, I would say like I tend not to like think of me that way, like not, like I'm not unique or something like this. But I really try to think more like I'm trying to be as natural as possible and like raw and not really I'll say like wrap everything in like gold paper or something, like very yeah, I really tend to just be myself and what I how I imagine this is more like I'm doing this for myself first, and if it goes like well, I'm very like pleased. If it helps people, I'm like very very grateful for this. Like if one people hears it or I don't know if it helps one people as well, like it really makes me very happy. But like at first I started this, like as a healing thing for me. So I tend to do like more like stay myself and I really want to keep doing this and like to identify as this, like the artist that I stayed true to like her beliefs. Yeah, I would say that's yeah.
Yeah, and I think kind of going back to what you were talking about with having ideas and just trying things when it comes to like if you have the idea, you're just gonna do it because that was the idea. It's the same kind of concept of like if that's kind of I feel like authenticity in the last few years has been a word that people kind of throw out a lot, like authentic and just everything is somehow authentic. But that's kind of like a truer definition of it is it's just like it's not, I'm not trying to package it in any type of way. I'm not trying to be any specific sort of thing. I'm just being who I am and I'm doing what I'm just naturally going to do. And that's just going to be what it is. Like it's like if, like you said, doing it for you first, like there will be people that are able to connect and align with that and relate to that, just like how you were talking about, like with Claro and everything. Like you will have, because I mean, there we can only be so different as people, right? Like the two individuals can be very different, but you'd have a very hard time finding no one that is somewhat like you in some way, shape, or form. And so by just kind of being who you are and doing things the way that you naturally are going to gravitate towards doing, it allows you to kind of take up the space that you're meant to take up. Because if you try and do anything else, you're trying to emulate someone else or something else, then maybe you're tapping into a territory that someone else is already covering. All you
Yeah.
can really do is what you're going to do.
Yeah, and I feel like, like to me, everyone is like unique and special like in their own way. So, like it's more like trying to be like your own like uniqueness and your own like self. And I feel like it's enough, like to like distinguish everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, I think because really, like, the only thing that you can be the best version of is yourself,
Yeah.
right? You can only do things to their fullest that are meant for you to do, if that makes sense. Like if you're trying to be, like you hear the phrase like the next Taylor Swift and things like that, and I'm just like, do we want that though? Because I feel like we already have that. Why don't we have something new, right?
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
obviously they're not going to be identical, they're not going to be the same thing, but like if you're just trying to follow those footsteps, like that path's already been paved. We can pave a different path.
Yeah, totally like always like comparing stuff, like, oh yeah, she's doing this like that person or like it's really yeah I love to just say she's her own self and she's doing like amazingly and she's not the next like you said Taylor Swift, she's just herself. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean that's all we can really ask of anyone else and ourselves is like just do the things the way that you, but it's very easy to, like you said, get caught up in um or to pay attention to or try to do something like the comparison stuff. Like it's very, with the way that everything is at our fingertips now, which is great in a lot of ways but also terrible in a lot of other ways. Like that doesn't exactly bode well for trying to avoid comparing yourself to other people, other things, timelines, whatever. Like it's, as much as it's much easier said than done, but like I guess we kind of just have to pay attention to our own timeline and
Yeah.
experience and just
Yeah,
kind of do
definitely.
that.
Yeah, because like it's so easy, like even like right now I was just comparing myself to like other artists. I was like, okay, it's like kind of similar, like it's so easy to do this. And yeah, it's really yeah, I think it's important to stay just true. And it's of course like since like with algorithm and like YouTube, Spotify or whatever, it's also like fan also like like it's always putting in like boxes like all
Hmm.
the time, and it's like how we working right now. And yeah, it's fine I guess, but it's important like to train ourselves to yeah, just not to like to just let me like being put in the boxes like yeah, it's try like to be yeah your own self. It's hard, but yeah, we can try.
Yeah, no, it's because, there is the aspect that, like we said, like with genres and stuff, you have to categorize yourself to some extent. But at the same time, because the lines have gotten so blurred, it's harder to, even if you were supposed to fit in that box, to know if you're in it or not, because things are like, and you hear your own stuff differently than you hear other people's because you know everything that went into it. You know everything that's there. And it's just like, what really are we supposed to do with all of that information, right? What really are we supposed to articulate and embody and all that stuff? So it's, like I said, it's great that it's as accessible as it is, but it's also like everything is too at 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 touch, you know?
Yeah.
So um what impact do you want to have with your music and with your artistry?
Um, I want to, I'll say, I was talking about like, how it's like a healing escape for me. I would say I would love if it helps people, if it touch or, like if my music can make people feel like, yeah, whatever it is, if it's, I don't know, rage, sadness or happiness or whatever, I'm very, yeah, I really want to do like, if I can like transmit like just emotion to people like, because I feel like nowadays it's like just numbness surrounding us, like we are so numb by everything surrounding us, like whatever's like war going on, or like COVID, or violence against women, against everyone, I would say. But like how things are right now, we're so numbed by everything we're seeing, because like, yeah, I feel like we're just seeing too much and we're like so numbed by it. And I really want to, like make people like feel just emotion, like just to be, yeah, kind of like they were like naked, like you're like you really like embody like the emotion like you need to express, like really, yeah, kind of like helping people that way, I would say yes, definitely.
Yeah, it's always interesting to me that it's like artists want to put in their music what they got out of other music. And so like, that like you were talking about with Claro, like seeing your own experience kind of also and being able to watch that through somebody else and also just I mean that's what pulls us to songs and artists and the genre and the style is just the way that it's communicated and we all kind of communicate in different ways. So that's why certain of us are pulled one way or the other. But it's always, I always find that it's what we've gotten out of it, we want to put back into it. Like it's almost like a passing the torch, like keep the cycle going
Yeah.
kind of thing. And just, want that connection that you've had previously in your own experience as a listener.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with this. Yeah, definitely.
I think that brings us to the final question, which is ultimately the concept behind the podcast, which is why music?
Why music? Okay, I would say music is a way for me to express myself. Um, I really am not good in expressing myself, not like in real life, and even like talking about my emotion, or even like recognize my emotion. And music helped me do it, because like sometimes I'm writing songs and I'm not aware of what is it about. And after I finish, I'm like, okay, this is actually about this, and that's how I feel. Like it's really like a process to me. Like really, it helped me process things that happen in real life, and really like process traumas, and like a lot of stuff. And also like music is also like a way of, I don't know, like staying alive, like art in general, like it really is like something to look forward to. I would say like to escape. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a good way to put it. It's not like art isn't doing any harm. There's nothing really like negative to be associated with it unless it's just something that you're not aligned with and that negative is just kind of personal preference. Like it's not a negative thing in an objective way. It's all subjective. And so, like you said, it's kind of, especially from the creator standpoint, but also just from the viewer, listener, consumer standpoint, it is a step away from reality and life if you want it to be. It's the way that things are processed, whether that's by you, the person creating it, or you, the person consuming it. So it's, being able to contribute to that creative form is really cool, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's yeah, really cool. Like sometimes you just listen to a song and you're like, oh, that's exactly what I'm like feeling right now. And like it's just so cool like to be able even like to do this and just like writing about what you feel. Yeah, it's really so cool.
Yeah. No, and I mean, there's nothing about it that there's not nothing about it. There's just nothing like it.
Yeah.
Um, it's just different, but like in like a great way.
Yeah.
It's something that like even as time has evolved and the way that we consume these things has changed and, like we said, become more accessible and all of that. But the root of it and the role that it plays in the larger picture has remained the same. It's that expression, it's that outlet. Like there's nothing more to say about it than that. Like it's just oh, it's been the same for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
Even though we have only had Spotify for however long we've had Spotify, right? So, yeah.
Yeah. It's a beautiful way to put it. Yeah.
Well, on that note, I think that brings us to the end of this episode of the Why Music podcast. You can check back again next week for another conversation with another independent artist. Thanks for listening.